August 13, 2050. Bukas ang aking kamalayan kasabay ng pagmulat ng aking mga mata, nagtatanong, nagtataka at nagdududa kung totoo ba ang lahat ng ito, kung totoo ba ang nakasulat dito sa libro na minsan naging malaya ang tao sa pagbabahagi ng opinyon sa loobin at kuro-kuro hanggang sa dumating ang araw na kinain na sila ng sistema na adik sa Facebook, Instagram, TikTok at Twitter. Mas mataas pang like and reaction sa Facebook kaysa sagrado sa paaralan. Nagkalat ang maling impormasyon na adik sa social media. Lahat gustong maging magaling, ayaw magpatalo, inabuso ang teknolohiya. August 13, 1951. Bukas ang aking kamalayan kasabay ng pagmulat ng aking mga mata, nagtatanong, nagtataka at nagdududa kung totoo ba ang aking nakikita. Masaya ang mga tao, naglalaro sa kalsada ang mga kabataan, magagalang at masunurin ang bawat mamamayan, walang gulo kasi lahat maalam sumunod at magpasunod. At bumalik tayo sa kasalukuyan. August 13, 2021. Bukas ang aking kamalayan kasabay ng pagmulat ng aking mga mata. Samahan mo ko at itama natin ang mali upang maiwasan ang hinihintay na kasawian. Gamitin natin ang social media upang ipalaganap ang pag-asa at kapayapaan, upang ibahagi ang salita ng Diyos at kaligtasan. Tamang impormasyon para sa lahat. Ayusin natin ang kasalukuyan upang hindi tayo magsisi sa hinaharap.
Good day, everyone! Now, we are already knowledgeable about the progress of cyber and media literacy. Thanks to our first speaker. Since we are already knowledgeable about that, how about our etiquette in getting information? Information varied from sources and to another. And now, here is the group 2. They have something to share about the said topic. Stay still and watch.
Proper etiquette of getting information. So, one example of this proper etiquette is cite the owner of the information. I am now going to show you how to apply this proper etiquette. For example, we are going to find information regarding digital literacy. So, for us to find what it is, we're going to go to the Google Chrome. Then, we are going to search what is digital literacy. So, after you type your question, the results were here. So, we're gonna open it. And then, we are going to copy the information regarding digital literacy. So there, to apply the proper etiquette, we are going to copy the link where you get the information that you put in your work. It is very important that we include the link so that we have the proper credit to the owner of the ideas or words that you got from the internet. And also, those who reads your work will see what is the source of your information.
Second is to paraphrase. In paraphrasing, we should construct our own sentences. First, we should search the information that we are needed, and also we have to enact with the sources of the information. So let's see. Now we are going to search the information, and that's it. And also we are going to find out the concepts or the ideas of the author regarding to ecological literacy. So we have to construct sentences in our own, so that with the accordance of the author, we are going to make or create new sentences or ideas regarding to what we have been searched. Number 3 is check the resources first. Then we are going to find out if it is a real or fake links. For example, we are going to search ecological literacy. Then based upon the information, the last link is .com, so it is not considered as valid. Then we have to find out something real links. That gov, for example, we find out the link .gov at the last part. So we are going to find out if it is a real or a valid information. To generalize it all, first, we have to cite the author. Number 2, we have to paraphrase our sentences regarding to the accordance of the author's knowledge. And lastly, we have to check the sources if it is valid or not.
That was so very informative. You see, information is also dangerous if we use in a wrong way. So keep those in mind. They will be very beneficial to you. Getting information appropriately is not just that. So you guys continue on watching. You see, our behavior speak who we are. It may be on public or any other site. What you post is what you are. So, let us have this group of people who can give us an idea about do's and don'ts in posting on any other site.
Challenges encountered throughout your webinar journey.
So, the problem that I encounter during webinar conference are the loss of connection and the noise around, and sometimes the noise from the unmuted microphone of the other attendees.
The frequent problem that I encounter in a webinar is technical issue, where sometimes there is different noise coming from the surrounding that can distract the listeners, and sometimes they don't understand or hear what the host is saying.
So, the problem that I encountered throughout the webinar is the poor connectivity. Why? Because some of the attendees can't understand what the speaker is telling because of poor connection. The voice is not clear, the video is not clear, and sometimes it causes the audience to be bored in the presentation. So we must do something about it for us to supplement what is lacking in order to have a better webinar presentation.
I have many problems encountered during my first time using webinar. The most common for everyone is the unstable network connection, which some can't listen to the speaker. And also, sometimes my CP is hanging so that I need to go back to the link to restart again the webinar. And also the noise, which I can't hear the speaker.
Sometimes in webinar, we encounter a lot of problem, like in presentation, it was have a full of text, unnecessary noise, the echo of an audio, and the speaker is boring.
Tips for webinar presenters.
Here's the tips for the presenters. First is define learning outcomes and make sure you consider what the audience will find useful. Second is know how to respond to common technical issues. The third one is don't have more than 3 presenters. Then the next is don't use too many slides, includes graphics and visuals, and don't overuse text. Then next is use interactive option like Q&A session and polls. Then next is speak to your audience. Then last is the maximum duration of webinars, which is 35 to 45 minutes.
Don'ts in creating a webinar.
And now, let's tackle about the don'ts of creating a webinar. First, don't run over time. Talk for a long stretches over the same slide or rush at the end. Second, don't read the exact of the slide aloud. The third is don't say, "Can you hear me?" It leads to a distracting deluge of responses. Fourth, don't use chat for tech support question as that disrupt the flow of the conversation.
Hi guys, how are you doing? I hope you're doing great. So here are the do's when creating a webinar. So number 1, have some voice speaking before start time so people can check their audio. So let's start. So here is the headset. Wear it. So hello, sound check. Sound check. Am I clear? Sound check. Hello, hello, sound check. Okay, the audio quality is good. So number 2, display welcome slide before start so people know they're in the right place. So let's display the welcome photo of our slide like this. So as you can see, this is the welcome photo. Welcome to Digital Literacy Webinar. So let's proceed to number 3. It is include photo of speaker. So we must include the photo of speaker. Why? For us to know whom is speaking. And number 4, have a technical procedure to support presenters and attendees. Number 5, provide common troubleshooting tips up front. Number 6, encourage attendees to pass questions for everyone to see. Number 7, use chart to allow attendees to share their information and interact. So as you can see, we have here a chart. So it contains information for us to interact. And number 8, give attendees the option to hide chat if they find it distracting. So if we find it distracting, we can hide it for us to focus on the content to whom is speaking. And number 9, share link in chat for more information. So we must share a link or cite additional information using the link. So if the viewers find it helpful, so they must click it. And it contains contains additional information for them to have an absolute understanding about the topic. And number 10, record the webinar and allow it to be accessed for the future viewing. So we must record the said webinar for us to have an access. So for us to view it if the webinar has ended, so we can review it, we can review our progress, so we can still find it more information and review our works, and it will be a better reference for the future for those who can attend the webinar, so they will have the copy of the said webinar. That would be all for do's and don'ts. Hope you learned something. Thank you, God bless, take a break, and be grateful all day.
Things to do during the webinar.
So during the webinar, we need to log into the web conference 10 minutes early. We need to mute our microphone and be an active participant. Be respectful to the other attendees and provide feedback. Type a short phrase about the best thing you got out of the webinar or your learnings. Then, do not use the chat box for aside or unrelated conversations.
Things to do before the webinar.
Here are the tips for webinar attendees. Before the webinars, we need first check software before using the webinars. The second one is test your microphone, webcam, and also the speaker. Then lastly, contact or support team with any questions before the webinars.
Lesson learned throughout your webinar journey.
And in webinar, I learned a lot. To be honest, I learned on how to do decently and the etiquette, technique, the do's and don'ts on a webinar. It will help to avoid the difficulties, the circumstances of in using a webinar. And I believe that nowadays it will help to the other students creating a webinar.
One thing that I learned about doing a webinar is that you will take a time before you start or conduct a webinar, where you will first find out what are the possible solutions when there is a technical issue that encountered during the webinar.
I have many things that I learned in webinar. First is, before using webinar, we need to test your microphone, webcam, speaker if it is okay. Then we need to contact our team if the webinar is okay or not.
So the things that I learned from making a webinar is to log in 10 minutes early and mute the microphone so there's no other distracting noise, and be respectful and participant to the other participant and attendees. Be respectful and also use the chat box if only needed, and do not use in unrelated conversations.
The lesson that I've learned is that in case of difficulties and challenges that we encountered throughout the webinar, we must stay positive. Always remember that positivity is a must, because if we stay positive, we stay in focus and we can deliver the topic correctly to our attendees. In that way, our attendees would have a better understanding and we shared them a concrete knowledge of wisdom and information, so that the content is clear and they have something in the table, they have something learned throughout the webinar, and they didn't waste time, because the webinar that they have watched or attend is worth attending for.
Remember, your action is fit for you. Let those information be standard when it comes to engaging in social platforms. And for the part 2 of this video, stay still and keep watching, because there are more information and ideas that you can cope up.